Yo, what is going on YouTube? Sorry if I sound a little nasally. I don't know if I'm coming down with like a sickness or it's just a stuffed nose. I don't know what's going on, but sorry about the razor in the background as well. I got a new cut and a new beard. You guys saw that on stream last night. This is the first time I'm showing you guys on video. We are back with another video, and in this video, we are going to be talking about the new Drake and PARTYNEXTDOOR album, Some Sexy Songs for You. Yeah, the Valentine's season is around us. Obviously, Valentine's Day already passed, but what better date than Valentine's Day for Drake to drop an album? And I think this is the first time he has dropped an album on Valentine's Day, so that's interesting. Finally, these two get together for an album. Not sure why this didn't happen sooner, but I'm glad it is finally here. You obviously have undeniable chemistry between these two every time they work together, so let's see what they can, it was interesting to see what they could do with 21 tracks and nearly 75 minutes of runtime. Not a lot of huge features on this album with the exception of Yeba, and we'll get to one later. I'll save it as a surprise for then. So they really do have to carry some weight here, just those two, and I knew they could, and they did. I wouldn't say there's pressure on Drake because obviously he has had an illustrious career and one of the more impressive catalogs I think we have ever seen in hip-hop, but with the beef still sort of going on with Kendrick doing the thing at the Super Bowl halftime show, it's go time for him. I think he has a lot to prove as an artist. He doesn't have to go out there, be lyrical, miracle, spitting his ass off, but he needs to put together a good album here. This is pretty important to him to an extent. Let's go, man. And by the way, if you expected this album to have hype trap bangers with this pairing, A, you're an idiot, and B, please go somewhere else before you completely shit on this album. Let's go, though. Track 1 is CN Tower. I love the tower imagery and just the atmosphere the production creates, and you can say that about a lot of tracks on the album. Again, most of this album will be very freaky and intimate, and they kick that off here, of course, so there's no point in really mentioning the subject matter too much on this record because we know what we are in for. We know exactly what a record with Drake and P&D is going to sound like, especially because P&D is on here. Love the beat switch. A lot of things contained in this song too, which is great. A very complete track, a lot of different parts to it, very well put together. Reciprocated feelings of love, yada yada yada, they go throughout that whole thing. The melodies here are phenomenal. Definitely a highlight on the album. Not sure what's so pretty about a dead flower. I don't know what Drake sees in that, but there you go. Track 2 is Mothballs. Just another reflective track here about relationships. It sort of has like a Don Toliver vibe with like the instrumentation and how it sounds. Getting caught between relationships, getting connected, struggling, very melancholic stuff here. I'll try not to talk too much on each track considering it is a 21 track record and I don't want to keep you guys here forever. A very hypnotic chorus from P&D and it's sensual and kind of goes against the introspective verses from Drake, which is why it is so awesome to see them work together. They do provide pretty contradicting tones, contradicting vibes here. Great melodies as always. Mothballs, that's interesting. That's an interesting concept for a track. I don't know if he's with like a ghetto girl, I don't know. The second part of the song is amazing, by the way. I think it's way better than the first part. Track 3 is Something About You. Another great song on here. There's not that many bad songs on here. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and glaze it and call it a classic like a lot of people are doing, but there's not a lot of bad songs here, I will admit. Just the vocal pockets that Drake gets into here. This is the first time in a while I've truly heard him go in an R&B direction, which I think this album was much needed. I think this collaboration with P&D was awesome. Again, relationship stuff, reassuring loyalty, intimacy is in here. But yeah, shout out to Drake for his vocals. P&D comes in and is very provocative and confident, gets straight to the point. Kind of the freakiness of P&D throws you off at first, for sure, but you get kind of used to it. You know what you're in for when you listen to P&D, and that's what you get on this record. So much passion, talking about lust and luxury, I can show you the world type of stuff, pursuing real connections, you get it. This is how an R&B track on an R&B album should sound, of course. Chorus kind of sucks ass, but other than that, this is a really good song. Just so intoxicating with the melodies. Again, it gets obnoxious at times, but for the most part, I like it. Definitely a good song on here. And track 4 is Crying in Chanel, one of my favorite beats on the project. One of my favorite produced tracks on the project, just everything about it. Holy shit, man. This was awesome from Drake. I loved this solo track from Drake. There's even like an EDM, dancey, electronic beat drop. Like, are you kidding me? This is incredible. One of the best tracks on the entire album. This was previewed on IG before, and honestly, the part that was previewed wasn't as good as the first part of this song. I like the first part more than when he was like, and you cried and shit now. I like the first part better. Why is no one talking about the Can I Trust You bit that is taking shots at Future, Metro Boomin, and Kendrick, though? That was an interesting little spicy thing that Drake kind of threw in as a detail. Drake won that 20v1. I don't give a damn. He came out on top. He's still selling selling out arenas. I don't think he's phased. No, obviously I think Kendrick is the better rapper, better lyricist, better combatant artist, but I think Drake came out of this very well off. The vocals here are incredible on this track. I don't know if that was P&D adding the vocals. Very cool background touches throughout here as well, so there you go. Next up, track 5 is Spider-Man Superman, the real her sample. That's so sick. We got to get that out of the way because that's one of the most iconic moments of this entire album. Everyone should know that Take Care is my favorite Drake album, and that isn't a hot take or anything, but still, easily my favorite Drake album, one of my favorite albums of all time. Such a nostalgic sounding song, solid song here, probably one of the weaker ones we have heard so far, but I still enjoy it to an extent. I think the first 5 tracks on this record are tracks that I've replayed over and over and over. He sort of teased this sort of sound with some of the songs he had on Fat D for All the Dogs, and now he's fully expanding upon it, and I love that. Another thing, P&D sounded like Future for a moment. I got kind of excited that we were going to get a hidden Future feature on here. Unfortunately, we didn't, you know. With a track title like Deeper, there were some very freaky implications with this song, but I'm not surprised giving the album title. This was the song on the album trailer, apparently. I don't think I even saw the album trailer, and I'm going to be honest, I don't like the P&D only songs. Now, I'm not going to be the guy that comes in here like, oh, P&D sucks, we need Drake on every track. I'm genuinely like not a fan of the tracks that he just did. I just need Drake on the track, either them together or just him alone. I've never really dove into P&D's solo catalog, and sadly I won't start here. I have a lot of respect for P&D as a solo artist. He has some good songs by himself, but not overall, it's not like work that I'm gonna get into really. Then we get into Small Town Fame, a lot of admittance here, like I don't show enough attention to the girls I care about type of thing. It's an interesting connection to make with Small Town Fame, like he's too Hollywood for some of these girls. I don't know, it's a very interesting message. With this album, I won't focus on the message as much as I will the sound, because again, we know what the subject matter will be. It's going to be about relationships. It's going to be about those type of sentiments and all the implications and stipulations of a relationship. Solid track here, not my favorite, but I can definitely vibe to it. This album has a lot of those like Jumbotron shit popping type of songs, type sounding flows out of him, and I like that. We get that here. We get it on a couple of other tracks on the album. I love the Charlie XCX bar. That was a cool little moment. This song is great. Tate McRae reference wasn't on the bingo card, but we got that here. Showing love to some Canadian comedians as well. That's pretty dope. Pretty good song overall. Then we get into Pimmy's Dilemma, and this is a very interesting song. I don't know who Pim is. I guess she's like a vocalist. Very interesting. Talking about toxic relationships, as we see far too often discussed in the R&B world. I think that's a very recycled concept, and I wish people would get away from like the whole toxic, like I'm cool because my relationship is toxic trope. I don't like that really. Here we are. We get it here. Lack of trust, getting betrayed. You know, she knows her boyfriend might cheat, but she's going along with it. What the fuck? She kind of gave me SZA vibes, not just because she's a female artist and she has a voice, but like genuinely some of the cadences she was going with and like her melodies sounded very SZA-esque. Solid little interlude, not much to say here. Next up is Brian Steele. This is the name of Young Thug's lawyer who miraculously got him out of jail off of the racketeering charges, which I don't know how he did that. Shout out to Brian Steele. We need Young Thug in the world. What's the next track called? Better Call Saul? I mean, holy shit, let's shout out these lawyers while we're at it. Come on, he might as well be Better Call Saul. Better Call Brian. That has a ring to it. That could be a show there, you know. Nice little shout out, and it's awesome that Thug got out, of course, considering there have been plenty of rappers not make it out of the legal system, so this song kind of feels like a celebration of that. Quick little trap banger, a little freaky, but it's still bouncy. The beat's awesome as well. Nice, short, in-your-face song on this album. Up next we have Gimme a Hug, which kind of keeps the momentum going from Brian Steele, and this is the rap song on the album. This is the rap performance from Drake. Drake is all alone here talking about being unfazed with the rap beef and with that whole sentiment that everyone was stacked against him. He almost announces that he's done feeding into it, and that's something that could be good and bad for his career. Like, should he keep competing? Yes and no. I don't know. He's in a very weird spot. Obviously, again, he is famous. He doesn't need this rap beef to get him going. If anything, Kendrick needed it more than Drake, if I'm being honest. Yeah, this is regarded as the best song on the record by many, and although it's a great song, it's pretty unorthodox for what this album has to offer, and that's fine, but there are definitely songs I think that are better, and I think I would put above it just because it goes with the whole P&D Drake nature of the album. Still amazing song. He's got like a 5 a.m. in Toronto type of energy on this one. I love that. I love when Drake gets super prideful and passionate with rapping. This would explain the bullet hole vest he was wearing, some of the stuff he was saying on the song. Fire production, very much a focus on lyrics. Possibly song of the year though. Like realistically, if we're talking about on the hip hop landscape, it could be song of the year. Him and his strippers too. Give Me a Hug, strippers. I don't know. Next up is Raining in Houston. You gotta love a good DJ Screw sample. What is a Drake album without one? I feel like pretty much every, if not damn near every, Drake album has had a DJ Screw sample on it. I'm not a huge fan of this one, but it's not a bad song. I think those were P&D vocals in there, solid beat switch. Not a great song really, one of the first songs in here that I probably won't come back to, but still, it's not like it's so dog shit that I have to like shit on it in the video. Next song is Lasers, and this is a very interesting like conceptual song that references the lasers required to get a tattoo removed of like an ex's name or a tattoo that you regret getting. Again, really cool premise with this song. Getting those tattoos later off hurts, so it's like a lesson learned, like maybe you shouldn't do that in the first place. Again, it represents so many things, both literally and metaphorically. Quite an interesting concept for a track, and it's cool to get a clever track like that on here. Like, I know you're supposed to be here for the vibes, you're supposed to be here for love songs, and this is connected to love in a sense. They go in that direction. I think that's pretty cool. I think he's talking about the same girl that was on that freaky ass P4 album cover for Party Next Door. Let Shawty go. She got a tramp stamp. Let's get going. Maybe he likes that. I don't know. P&D doesn't hesitate though when it comes to the freaky shit, and this is where the freakiness gets a little distracting. It's not a great track because I think P&D kind of takes it a little too far. And again, I know this is for like women really to listen to this album, and I should probably preface that. But next up is Meet Your Padre. Not a great song here. This is where I agree that Drake is a damn culture vulture, and Kendrick Lamar is right about that, because I don't know what the fuck this song is. Stop pretending you're Latino. Stop pretending you're French, although Canadians can get a pass for that. Stop pretending you're Jamaican. You are a Canadian, and I know some of those slangs kind of interlap, but fucking Spanish? Get the fuck out of here. You are not Spanish. What are we doing here? He needs to cut the Latin shit out and let the Bad Bunnies of the world do their thing. This song is trash simply because of that Spanish inclusion. I'm not hating on Spanish culture at all. I think they've bred many great pop artists, many great, well, pop stars because they're popular, but like, why would Drake do this? I don't like it. That's really all I have to say about this one, because I've had enough of English-speaking artists thinking they can do shit like that and get a hit out of it. It's cringe. Turn it off. If I was Latino, I'd deadass be offended. Like, this might be racist. Fuck it. It might be racist. The song doesn't even sound that bad. The lyrics are just gross, and just him trying to speak Spanglish. It's like, it's cringy. Please stop. Up next is Nokia, and this is one of the more controversial tracks on the record because it's one of the weirdest songs you will ever hear in your life, but I like it just for the simple fact of how weird and how unorthodox, especially, and like how distinct it is to the rest of the album. It goes in a completely different direction. It fuses so many eras of music. I think it's fucking amazing. A lot of interesting samples and iconic moments on this song. Just a lot of fun to listen to a song like this. You know, the beat on the second half is incredible. It's got like this Gravity Falls vibe, which is, or like the like that, it kind of has like that sounding, which is pretty ironic, honestly. It sounds like an 80s and 2000s R&B song at the same time. I wonder what the samples are here. I don't think anyone's really done research on it, but I wonder what he sampled. Bro has so many girls, he don't know which one it is that's calling him. That's what he's talking about with like the Nokia vibe. He could have had 2000s Kanye on this track. Seriously, I like just want to dance to a song like this, like baby girl. I'd love to hear the song in concert at like a damn skating rink. There's so many places I'd love to hear this song. I love Nokia, dude. Up next is Die Trying, and this is genuinely one of my favorite songs on the entire album. I can't really describe the vibe here. Such a dope track. Shows some real versatility. Again, a track that's pretty different than most of the other ones. It's just about commitment and trying to get a useless relationship to work. Been there, done that, bro. I can relate to an extent, I guess, at this fucking point. I wouldn't be able to relate a couple years ago, but you know what I mean. There's a lot of things like how you were brought up, what you believe in, and how your lover feels that really can discourage you, and Drake kind of discusses that here. I do kind of like the concept of the song. Also, Yeba has been a great addition to a Drake track anytime she's on, so there you go. Such a unique sound for these two. I can't describe what that genre, who does that remind me of? Post Malone, maybe? I don't know. Drake and P&D absolutely killed the song and got this. I mean, the melody's like crack. It's a very relatable song too. Like, you feel like you know exactly what Drake is going through. Up next is Somebody Loves Me. You get a smooth little track here. I just love the amount of background vocals on this album, with this being one of those tracks. I like the female vocals. I love the vocal cuts that are kind of thrown into here. And again, that's very characteristic of Drake and P&D, and they do a great job at kind of making that the point. This is exactly what you expect out of a P&D Drake song. Again, it's a pretty good song for being real, so there you go. Celibacy up next. How ironic of a title is that when you're talking about sex the entire album with P&D and Drake here. My ass, dude. I believe he mentions the beef on this one. I don't know what we were in for with this track. Crazy stuff. Feminist Drake was acting activated on this damn thing. Sounds like he's saying celibacy, which is kind of funny. Solid stuff from P&D, although I would have liked Drake to keep going. I think at this point in the album, P&D interrupting did kind of ruin this song for me to an extent, but interesting. Up next is OMW. You guys know what that means, On My Way. Kind of talking about like a love triangle between Drake, Party, and this girl. That gets kind of weird. Talking about physical intimacy, memories, praising a girl for what they like about her. Again, do I need to go in depth? Sex, sex, sex. Yeah. That's what this album is. Helping a girl juggle her responsibilities, spend a night together to do that. Independent girls, that's funny. I love how A Millionaire references liking independent women. We all know why they get with you in the first place. It's because they're not independent. They need fucking money, dude. Seriously, what are we doing? I really like this. Sorry, I had to go on a little tangent there. I really like the synths here. Other than that, there's not a whole lot going on here, if I'm being honest. I do think it's a solid track. Up next is Glorious, and we get Ice Spice on here. This is insane. I didn't think these two were on good terms, Drizzy and Ice Spice, but here we go. Talking about lust, attachment, detachment, and how being famous helps them in the real world with relationships. When you are as famous as these people, you don't need to commit to relationships because someone out there will always be there for you. That type of sentiment, and they admit that on this song. Very bold, confident track, very sexy energy, as the album title suggests. Ice Spice has got a very sexy voice, and she adds to that vibe here. She's a perfect feature to have on this album, and that's the other big feature I was kind of hyping up. I don't know if you guys are hyped about that, because Ice Spice does get a lot of hate, but again though, why does he have to sound like a UK drill artist? It's not bad, but again, the culture intrusion kills it for me sometimes. Like, when you see the deep down intent of Drake and him doing this, it's like, this guy is almost stealing someone's culture. I don't like it. I mean, the song isn't great. Not sure if I would come back to it anyway. Like, come on, P&D. You're doing way too much on here. It's a little zesty that Drake was growling during that freaky ass verse from P&D. I think it would have been cool to get Central C on this. Like, if you're going into a UK drill direction, I think Central C would have fit this bill nicely. Up next is When He's Gone, and you get from the title right away some very toxic shit. You can sense it. Very spacey vibe on this one. Talking about relationships and how a girl is going through a breakup and isn't allowing anyone else to love her, which is a very real thing that happens in the real world a lot of times. You just don't want to let go of your ex type of thing. A lot of very bitter, weird sentiments here. If I was a girl, I wouldn't want to deal with this level of arrogance and ego, honestly, but again, girls are gold diggers at times, man. These guys have money, so who gives a shit, Coming up next is Greedy. This is the final track of the album. 6 minutes for this thing. The only thing that's greedy is them to meet the requirements from their label or some shit for runtime, because I feel like that's the only reason the song took up 6 minutes. Complicated relationships, emotional availability, craving affection. I was pretty over the album at this point, listening to this song. I don't know. I mean, I heard a damn rainstorm over piano for a minute or two straight. I don't know what's up with the fluff. Such a weird way to end an album. I wasn't a huge fan of this song. It was very off-putting to go out this way. There you have it. So just kind of getting into the general review. This is actually going to be a very long video. I don't even know if I want to edit it tonight. I might work on it during the All-Star games while I'm watching those, but I just love how high quality this record is, because I know it is Drake and we shouldn't expect anything less, but still, it is so refreshing to get a full studio release like this and have the beats sound great. I've listened to my fair share of underground music, and I love the Netspins and the Osamasons of the world, and you've seen me talk about them on the channel, but I can admit that their mixing isn't always on point, and it's kind of intentional in some cases, but still it sounds very distorted, and it kind of fucking hurts your ears sometimes when you're listening, This album will feel corny at some points, but I don't see a world where I completely despise this music, because these are the type of sounds that have built up both Drake and Party's careers. Going back to the mixtape days of Drake, going back to the early days of Party Next Door and him and Drake linking up. This is the music that built the foundation for their careers, so them going back to it, I think is great. I think that's an awesome move. Also, if at any point in this album people say Party ruined the track, they're just wrong. I don't make the rules. I mean, there were some points he came in and he was a little bit obnoxious. He never ruined the album for me. He never ruined tracks for me, though, completely. He legit has the most beautiful voice I've ever heard. I'm not even joking. I didn't like the album cover at first, but I like it now. I think it looks pretty cool. Swear to God, Taylor Swift can't do shit like this. She cannot make music like this. I don't care. She is the talk of the town, the cream of the crop. drop. I don't care. She's not making music like this. And the crazy part about me listening to this album is that I found like 7 songs I really liked, and they were on repeat from day one. So some of these songs I'm listening to for the first time in this video, I didn't even really have time to get to the other tracks sometimes, because some of the other tracks that were really good were so addicting to me that I couldn't stop listening to them. And that's a great quality for an album to have, I think, because I think as time goes on, there's going to be other songs on the album that I get addicted to and I find a liking to. So I love the acoustic guitars on here. I will say there are some great samples on the record, just kind of getting into the production. An album like this, no glaze, no hyping up too much, but I'm telling you, an album like this will prove that Drake is here to stay, and he still has many great years ahead of him in the rap game. Again, this album proves just that. I think even some of the songs that aren't that entertaining, you can sit back and enjoy them without over analyzing them like these weird fake trap fans on Twitter do with Travis Scott profile pictures. It's an R&B album. Get the fuck over yourself, guys. Like, come on. This is a great album, I think. I mean, it loses steam after Die Trying, I will admit, but there are plenty of great tracks on here, I think. And yeah, they could have cut this album down a little bit, but still, I still enjoy this fairly well. I don't even think the last few songs were bad. Maybe the songs just started to sound the same at a point because the amount of tracks that there were. I think it was just album fatigue. Like, I don't even think there's really that many bad songs. Again, the drill shit, the Spanish shit, Drake can go ahead and fuck off with that and leave it in the vault for all I care. Again, this is a good album, dude. I'm not gonna say it's like album of the year. I think Osama-san's album might be better to me. That's probably my favorite album of the year so far. But this one will be up there probably by the end of the year. Now, I don't know. I think Travis Scott might be dropping an album. We're hoping that Music comes out soon by Cardi. I don't know what's going on with that, but it's nice to see a high quality, super popular artist come out with music, because we haven't gotten that since GNX with Kendrick Lamar. So there you go. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. As always, this has been your boy GCTV doing these music reviews. I'm probably going to go up and edit for about a half hour. I will be watching the All-Star break. I'm taking my time with content, guys, so there you go.